You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to another Friday edition of Cards to the Moon. My name is Clark from 5cardguys.com, and you can find me on Instagram or on YouTube or on Facebook at 5cardguys. So please follow me there if you get a chance. Now, it's another solo intro today because we have a special interview that I'll play in just a minute. And if you heard one of our recent podcasts where we questioned why a Lamine Yama, the young soccer sensation, had a card numbered to 5 that sold for, I believe, $50,000. We got Dave, who is at Wolf Hearts Cards on IG, to help us understand the soccer card market a little bit more. So please stay tuned for that. But off the top, just quickly, I want to bring up a recent post that I put up on my at 5cardguys Instagram and Facebook accounts. And it was when I was at the National in Chicago last week. And the video post was me submitting my Bobby Witt Jr. Home Field Advantage Superfractor 1/1 card to PSA for grading. And on Facebook, I got wrecked in the comments with almost 100 people commenting on that post. And most of those comments, I would say over 90%, was either ridiculing me or laughing at me or questioning me as to why I would spend money to grade a 1/1. And some commenter said that I just wasted $1,000. I just want to be clear, I didn't pay $1,000, but I did pay $300 for the Super Express service. Anyway, the fact that it came back a PSA 8, that was even more hilarious to them, thinking it ultimately devalued my card. And some even said, if I were going to grade it, it should have been just to authenticate it, right? No number grade, just get a PSA authenticated. Now, I'm not looking for any pity. Trust me, I'm not. And I can certainly take the feedback. Rather, I just found it really interesting that when I did a poll on Instagram about whether I should grade this 1/1 and go for the number grade or just to authenticate it, you know what the results showed? The results weren't even close. The majority said they would rather have the number grade, 7 or higher, than a PSA authenticated slab. Some of the reasons I heard was that if it was just PSA authenticated, they would think something is really wrong with the card. Like why wouldn't there be a number grade associated with it? And others said just the PSA authenticated grade doesn't look as nice as seeing a PSA 8 or 7 even. Now, why am I saying this? Because my point really is there are two sides to every debate. I understand how the internet works, and how you can easily live in your own echo chamber. But for content creators, just remember there are always two sides. And so for every negative feedback or comment out there, you'll have someone who supports the other side, although typically they aren't as vocal as the naysayers. But they're there. And I've received more DMs saying they appreciate, in general, the content I put out. And to them, I appreciate you guys for letting me know. And I do also appreciate those who might have a different point of view, but say it in a respectful way. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Again, I hope for those making content, if this ever happens to you, where you get a flood of negative or rude comments even, don't get discouraged. Sometimes it's better to not engage and just keep moving on. Your supporters will find you and even back you up. All right, speaking of supporters, Dave, aka Wolf Hearts Cards, is on the pod. Here's the interview we had earlier this week. Enjoy. All right, we got another special guest on the pod. His name is Dave. You can find him on Instagram at Wolf Hearts Cards. And I know he's also a loyal listener of our podcast, so we definitely appreciate him. But the reason why we wanted Dave to come on the pod today is because he messaged me after the National, and he reminded me actually that there was another card show taking place at the same time as the National in the same city. And of course, that took place in Chicago this year. And that is the Soccer Card Expo, or SoCo Expo. I think that's the short term.
Yep.
Yeah, where Dave happened to set it up as a dealer. You just heard him. So I have questions. But first, without further ado, Dave, welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me, Clark. No, yeah, I've been actually a long time listener back. Well, not that long, but since 2023, since I got back into it. But
yeah,
for sure.
Well, 2 years, that's a long time to me. So I appreciate you, Dave. And I know you message us every now and then asking a question. And yeah, I like we say on the pod all the time, we appreciate any DM that we get. Yeah, one of the questions you did ask recently is about Lamine Yamal. So we'll just get into that in just a second. But before we do, and before we even talk about the SoCo Expo where you set up, Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself as a card collector. When did you start collecting? For how long? Did you come back into it recently, like many of us did? Yeah, just tell us your hobby journey.
Yeah, for sure. So I collected as a kid, probably from the time I was about 5 with my father. I would hear stories about, my dad collected tops. Like that was his thing. He grew up playing baseball, so I always heard about Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris. He even actually caught for Mark the Bird Fidrich because he played some college ball. So he was telling me stories about him. So I grew up doing that. But I was always a football guy. I grew up playing soccer myself, but always loved watching football. So I was fortunate enough. I'm a Detroit guy. We drafted Barry Sanders the year I was born. Nice. So my parents were pretty stoked about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I collected probably up until I was about 15 or 16, but it was a mix of sports cards and Pokemon, and back in the day, Dragon Ball Z, TCG, way
right.
Back when.
Yeah.
So I was a mix of things, but then I stopped probably about 16, 17, the usual story,
yeah.
Chasing girls, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Went to college. Then about 2020, end of 2022, beginning of 2023, I was like, hey, lack of a better term, hey, you kind of have adult money now. Like let's look into some other things you might be interested in besides buying furniture or decorating your house. So I was like, okay,
yeah,
let's get back to it. And I was just absolutely astounded how far the hobby had come since I left in 03, 04. So it's like it was just mind blowing to me, and the learning curve is so steep.
Yes.
With cards these days, especially if you don't know what you're doing at first. So I really had to take it easy. But my whole reason getting back was I wanted to kind of become a dealer / I don't know if it's flipper, but just a dealer so I could pay for my own cards, kind of break even.
Yeah.
With my significant other, hoping she wouldn't get too angry with me. So trying to keep on a budget, as we all are, right?
I love it. You're right. The story is very similar. It runs on parallel tracks.
Yes.
But you know what? It's funny you say that because I got back into the hobby thinking the exact same thing. I just got married, and to justify my spending sports cards, I had to make money off of sports cards, and I'm like, hey, look.
Same.
Right?
Yeah.
But then it didn't really work out for me because I'm like, oh man, I'm really bad at this flipping game, choosing the wrong prospects.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not easy. Yeah.
No, it's so tough at first, especially, right? Because I'm a football guy, and football, I hear you guys talking about baseball all the time, and it's like,
right.
It's such a slippery slope, prospecting. At least you guys kind of have a pulse, the finger on the pulse for some of the baseball stuff, especially, with your code podcaster there.
Yeah.
But it was just, especially when you're dealing with people who are around you who happen to be accountants and spreadsheets. So it's like you kind of have to prove your worth at that point,
right?
Like what you're doing.
Yeah. No, I'm sure you have to. I'm sure. Well, it's because you brought up football cards. It's who do you collect in football? Is it primarily quarterbacks? That's always the safest pick, but do you venture off into different positions as well?
So for me, as we all have, right? The new and shiny wide receivers and the new and shiny running backs. Yes. The quarterbacks have always, since I got back to hobby, I don't understand why they're priced so much. Okay, yes, they get paid the most in the NFL, but it's also like, well, yeah, they're the guy throwing the ball, but still you got other players around them that are just as good.
Right.
So for me, I was at first collecting, like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
By the time I got in 2023, Patrick Mahomes was already sky high, so I was already out of
Sure.
that market.
Yeah.
But I've actually drifted back towards just the goats.
Hmm.
So I had I had made some money dealing that I want to take the national, and literally 2 days before I left the national,
Yeah.
I saw a guy on Facebook Marketplace. He had the 1989 score, Barry Sanders,
Yeah.
signed PSA 1010.
Wow.
And he wanted a good deal for it. So I was like, I have to have it. Like, this needs to be in the PC. This is never leaving.
Yeah.
So I was like, of course, like I just dropped a wad of cash before I even go to the national.
Yeah. Yeah. But you had to
so
get
far
it.
for me, yeah, I had. It's one of those things where like you guys have talked about before, the price is just too good. You can't pass it up, and that's why that's why we normally have extra cash just in case that happens.
Exactly.
But no, I think for me, I'm moving towards, I think, as much Barry Sanders as I can, just because I grew up watching him. I think that just everything just comes back to nostalgia for some reason with all of us.
Sure. Yes, it's we said it before in the pod. Nostalgia is a powerful drug. It gets you in, it keeps you in,
yes.
right?
Yes,
and it keeps you
100%.
spending money. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, unfortunately, yes.
Well, one of the reasons why we wanted to talk to you is because of your, knowledge on soccer cards. So how did you get into soccer cards? Was that along the same time you got back into the hobby, or was it even before then?
It was around the same time. So it was just kind of, for me, I was just realizing that everyone's so focused on basketball, football, and baseball. I was like, man, I played soccer for 21 years. So I was like, oh man, like, let's see, what's out there. And of course, I'm a big Chelsea Blues fan in England, so I'm a diehard fan. So I was like, okay, there's got to be like, Frank Lampard or some of those guys that played for the Blues back in the day out there. And I just got into it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, these cards are so much cheaper than football, baseball, and basketball. And then hobby boxes are a fraction of the price, like 25% of the price.
Yeah.
And then I did some ripping, and I hit some things, and I was like, all right, I think I'm gonna stop ripping, but I still want to get back into soccer to see where it goes. Just collecting, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Pele, like those kind of guys. It was just kind of a sidebar where it's like, okay, I had some extra money from turning some football and baseball cards, so it's like, okay, like what's next? I think it's a pretty common story. I feel like for a lot of people, it's like kind of branching out, figuring out your lane.
Sure. Yeah, totally get that too. And actually, you said you just heard the one episode where I believe it was Shung and we were talking about the Lamine Yamal card number to 5 that went for like $50,000, I believe. And so, Dave, you as a soccer card collector, you said you could offer some insight on the sale. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on the Lamine Yamal soccer card market right now?
Okay, so there's much more experienced footy guys, as we call it, than me, who are dealers and such. So like,
sure.
At the SoCo Expo, there's guys from all over the world there who are way more experienced. But I can tell you one thing for sure: we were all getting rid of our Lamine Yamal.
Wow. Okay.
Because the fact is, if I could compare him to someone just kind of out of the ordinary, or not out of the ordinary, but someone kind of with the same thing going on, it'd be Jaden Daniels. Just the hype, like, he's done so well at so young. Like, the hype is through the roof. Like, he's already outpricing some Messi stuff, and Messi can be considered the GOAT of soccer and maybe the GOAT of a lot of sports too. Right. So it's, for us, it was just, the market's so high. We had dozens of people come up to us with some of the rarest Lamine Yamal autos and numbered cards. Like, to my table alone, I had 4 out of 10 gold rookie cards come up at least.
Wow.
And they're like, hey, do you want to buy? And I was like, I'm sorry. That's,
right.
It's awesome. But for me, it was, a lot of us were just looking at each other like, what is going on with this kid? Because, I mean, he just turned 18. He started since he was 15. Yeah. So it's like, he's already outpricing Messi, who's scored 870 some goals in 1,100 games, almost, a 0.8% or a 0.8 like goal ratio per game.
Right.
I think a lot of us are just startled, and it's, for us, we're a very welcoming community, but I think for us, when some of us were walking around the national, it was Lamine Yamal at every single table almost.
Yes.
But there was every single dealer had some Lamine Yamal card. Just because it's that hype train right now, and it's, for us, it's nerve wracking. Like I get the sales, right? It's almost like, any of the prospects for baseball coming out, but he's actually done something, right? He's won the Euros with Spain.
Right.
He was in a Champions League final with Barcelona. He's been starting since he was 15. He just turned 18. So, Messi didn't even start till he was 17.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So for us, it's just, we get it. Like we understand the hype about it.
Yeah.
But for a lot of us, what's concerning is just how high he's priced right now without kind of that proven fact. Like we always talk with any sport, right? It's Pat Mahomes has that pedigree behind him. He has the Super Bowl wins. He has the MVPs.
Yeah.
Lamine Yamal is still so young, and I also feel bad for the kid. Like not even outside card wise, like don't compare Messi to Lamine Yamal. Yes, they both play for Barcelona, right, but let the kid just develop. Like Messi is a freak of nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad you helped me put Lamine Yamal into perspective. And I think even without knowing the soccer card market that in depth, you knew that there was so much hype around Lamine Yamal, right? And I have a daily auctions page I update regularly, and it's every other day another Lamine Yamal card is up for auction. So
yes,
to your point, there are a lot of people getting rid of their Lamine Yamal because they see it's kind of at its peak, but it's luring to people that are buying it because there's that potential, and it kind of is the double-edged sword, right? He's so young, but can he keep going? Like what will he be when he's 25? But that's also the risk at play too, right?
For sure. I mean, that's the risk with so much stuff these days with anything kind of sport-wise is that it's the prospecting. I know we love to prospect, right? But I think right. Just talking to other dealers, like a lot of us are kind of guys who only go for goats in soccer. So it's like, we're always hesitant, but we're optimistic, right? Like I get it. Like if someone snags, a gold auto to 10 or just a gold period to 10, a true gold to 10 of his rookie card, and he turned out to be something great. I mean, that card could be worth 6 figures someday.
Yeah.
But that day will be 20 years down the road, or,
right.
the year 2045 or something like that. So it's like, for us who are just in the market, we like the safety, but we also understand the risk, right? So it's kind of like, it's like the stock market. So it's like, how risky do you want to get with your investments?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And, we always say career longevity, you have to be lucky as well, right? So, there's injuries and such. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
And I think for some of us though, we're just so used to, obviously we never saw Pele play, but a lot of us grew up watching Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi play. Mm-hmm. Cristiano has 930 some goals. Messi has 870 some goals, but Messi scored 91 goals in 69 games one year. He set the Guinness Book of World Records. Right. Like, I don't know if Lamine Yamal can do that.
Yeah.
Because he's not the same player.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's why we have you on. You just put things into perspective for us, especially anyone that has the itch of, who is this Lamine Yamal, and should I pull the trigger on him? You want to be careful there. I want to speak more broadly and more generally about the soccer card market, if I could, particularly in North America, because we know in Europe and even other parts of the world, soccer is the number one sport, but over here it's probably number 5 or 6, if we're going to be fair. When I talk to soccer card collectors, I always want to ask them, where do you think the market's going to go? Do you think the sport of soccer is going to grow even more, and then that's going to help the soccer card market subsequently? Or how do you think it's going to play out in the next 5-10 years?
So I think people are starting to realize just if they want to rip the value of the hobby box for soccer. But I think generalizing, overall, we think this is just, the footy dealers, talking speculation, probably maybe after a few beers or something at the end of the show or whatever. But, we think it's going to blow up because I don't know if you saw the big sales, the supposed sales of 2 giant Messis over the weekend.
No, I didn't.
So a PSA 10, 2004 Mega Cracks Messi 71 BIS. So his Mickey Mantle card too. It's 52 Mantle to us.
Yep.
It sold privately, supposedly at Golden, for $825,000.
Wow.
The sale before that was $322,000.
that's a double digit increase percentage wise increase there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a pop 19, right? I think the gem rate's less than 1% or around
Mm,
1% or something for his cards, but still. And then there was a supposedly, this is just all happenings at the national. There was a let me check my notes real quick. There's a 2018 green Kaboom 1/1
yep.
from 2018, a Messi supposedly sold for 1.2 million. So
Insane.
it's we're trying to keep level headed, but we think it's going to blow up. To be honest, I think it's just so many younger kids in North America just play soccer now.
Yep.
It's just getting so much bigger, and we will never have the foot traffic at SoCo that the National will have. Obviously, right? It's just the way things are. You're put on two shows at the same time,
Right.
and the National is the National. But I think overall, the next 5 to 10 years, I think people really need to look at getting into the GOATs, like Ronaldo rookie, Messi rookie.
Yeah.
Pele rookies are tough because he has so many, like in the 50s. So like
Sure.
you have to find the right ones. But like
Yeah.
Messi and Ronaldo clearly have a few. Like those are the ones. And it's just crazy what we've actually seen with the Messi cards. So over the weekend, it was actually pretty insane. Like we saw just a BGS 8.5 of Messi's 71 BIS.
Yeah.
Hold on. 8. So a PSA 8 on June 15th sold for 15K. On July 22nd, it sold for 19K. On August 5th, it sold for 20K. And then on August 7th, it sold for 26K. So you're talking about $6,000 jump.
Right.
In like his rookie, like it's not just, the PSA stuff, it's the BGS stuff as well. So there's something going on with the Messi rookies that we're all talking about. I'm getting messages daily about what is happening with his rookie card. Because there was a lot of us who have some of his rookie cards up that were up for sale. We're straight up turning down market value.
Oh man. Wow. No,
yeah. So it's
I guess I'm too late with trying to get into the Messi market. But
no, I mean, like we've all been looking, and we're all like, I can't afford these now. Like I can't get multiple. Like we used to be able to get, PSA 5s, PSA 6s,
right.
and BGS 6.5, 7.5, or whatever for like pennies on the dollar now. Like a BGS 7.5, I think goes for $7,000 now, and 2 months ago they were going for around $3,000 to $3,500, which is still a lot for a lot of people. But just doubling is insane. So we don't know what's going on. We don't know if it's the whole Messi autograph thing, which I'm sure you've heard about, the absolute disaster of the 5 sets that PSA won't authenticate, and now they're going back on authenticating the Topps Dynasty. They're like, well, if we can't authenticate it, we'll replace it or whatnot. So I think we don't know if that's what's going on with Messi's market, but I mean, there's just so much room for growth, especially with Cristiano Ronaldo.
Right. Well, of course, the GOATs, Ronaldo and Messi, those are almost no-brainers. And, even people that are on the periphery of the soccer card market know who they are because they have millions of Instagram followers. They're celebrities in their own right, But what do you think about, like, the lesser-known players, I don't know, even like... I know Messi's in MLS, but like we're just talking. My ethnicity is Korean, so we know that Son Heung-min is going to LA, right? And I'm like,
yes.
I wish I kept my national landmarks card now, And now we're looking into like getting auto cards of or Prism, color parallel cards. Mm-hmm. But do you think even the growth of MLS is going to help with just collectors in general getting to know some of these guys that are probably really cheap, to tell you the truth?
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I think that's one of the major things, right? Is when you get players, such as, Son or, any of the guys that came over before, Gerard, Lampard, any of those guys. Yeah. It just gets the younger kids interested, right? Because a lot of kids, they probably know the Premier League or, some of the top 5 leagues like Serie A, the Bundesliga, La Liga or whatever, but it's just good when you have these players. I wouldn't say they're in their twilight, but they're approaching their twilight, coming over the MLS and just making it more popular. I mean, Messi just coming to Inter Miami, it just is insane. I mean, the parades that are constantly around that stadium now, just sold out all the time just to see Messi play. I think he just turned 38, and that's very old for a soccer player.
Right. Yeah.
But I think it's going to grow overall. I mean, just everyone in general. I mean, I think what people start looking at, I think, is just kind of the important sets in soccer. You know, there's the first Prism set, which is the 2014 World Cup set. And then there's the first Topps Chrome set, which is 2017. And then, of course, you have your Eminence set. You have your Panini Noir in 16. And you know, the first years of Kabooms in soccer and that kind of stuff. I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger. But I think what's interesting and kind of different for our market is the way we classify our vintage and modern and pre-modern.
Okay. How's that?
So 1977 to 2014, when that first Prism set is kind of called pre-modern. So it starts with Diego Maradona's kind of rookie pin he had in 1977. And then it ends with that Prism set. And then everything after that's modern. But before that is all vintage.
Okay.
So it's kind of how we split things up. Yeah. I mean, they started making soccer cards in the late 1800s. And up until 1977, I guess that's vintage to us.
Right.
You know, it's one of those highly debated topics, like always. Sure. But what are you going to do?
No, and you're kind of alluding to it too, even with the newer products that are coming out these days because of the growth of soccer, and you're seeing more soccer card brands and sets, I mean. And so, like, even when I look at the booths, I was only at the National, but when I do see soccer cards, it's different sets and different players from different sets. So I'm wondering, you know, what would people expect? What can they expect to see going to the Soccer Card Expo? You know, is there just a more variety, or how many vendors are there even? And you know, what kind of cards are being sold there? Is it pre-modern, like you were talking about, modern, vintage, or just kind of evenly distributed?
So at the SoCo Expo, last year was the first year in Cleveland at a UAW hall. We had about 80 vendors, so it was packed pretty tightly. This year we were at the Chicago Soccer Fields, which was kind of a 5, small side soccer kind of complex. Yeah. So all the tables were on smaller side soccer fields. I think there's just over 170 dealers this year, so double.
Wow.
But what you can see, literally, you can see anything you want there. You can see guys who have cards who are just straight vintage, just books and books of vintage stuff, which is crazy to see, right? Because, I mean, obviously they have tobacco cards, candy cards, and stuff like that. But then there's some dealers who are very particular who do the pre-modern, so 1977 to 2014. But then there's also guys who will just have the auto stuff. So like the only year of Flawless in 2016, or the only year of Noir so far in 2016, or, Eminence, or, the new Topps Dynasty with the patch autos.
Right.
You can literally see anything you want there. So me, myself, and a couple of other guys that were set up around me, we all tried to have, slabs from $20 up to $10,000 at every every price point we could have.
Right.
But there's some guys there who literally will have cases and there's armed guards standing by them because the collection is that valuable.
Wow. Yeah.
So there was I can't remember his name, but I think his name's Cardster. He's out of Thailand.
Okay.
I think that's his Instagram, but he had all one-on-ones autos, like of just
Crazy.
Messi, Ronaldo. And to top it all off, he had a 2018 Real Ink red auto, Otani.
Okay.
He had the jersey number.
Oh, nice. Wow. Yeah, that's impressive.
It was sitting in the very back of his case, and I was like, oh my gosh.
What am I doing going to the National? I need to go to SoCo Expo.
Yeah, so I think the good thing about the SoCo is just it's so welcoming, and everyone can find whatever you want there. I mean, there's a lot of guys who also had F1 there. There's a lot of guys from Europe who are into F1.
Right. Sure.
I know there's 2 F1 trade nights outside the National, but F1 is way outside my realm of affordability. Like those guys, there's some nut stuff there, like the Topps Dynasty sets, the Verstappen, the Hamilton, the Leclerc. Their stuff's nuts.
I feel like F1 collectors and F1 fans in general have money to spend, right?
They have high taste, yes.
Yes. Well, I was just in Paris. I went to a Paris car show, and that's all I really saw: soccer, F1, and Pokemon. Those 3 things primarily. There was baseball, of course, there too. And then we were able to go to Monaco for the Grand Prix, and you got to spend a lot of cash there. So
you were able to go to Monaco?
Yeah, I didn't get into the Grand Prix, but it was a great, like the the party surrounding the Grand Prix race, it was amazing to experience for sure. But anyway, yeah, from F1 back to soccer.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, would you have preferred, and it sounds like the vibe at the SoCo Expo is great, but what do you think would have happened if they were all set up at the National? Or do you think this deserves its own thing? And I'm not sure why you would have both at the same time, because you have soccer card collectors and dealers, I guess, at the National as well. So I'm wondering what the pros and cons are.
So I think, I'm not for sure, so don't quote me on this, but what I heard was the people who set up the SoCo had actually approached the National Committee to actually have, like a soccer section. And I heard that got turned down. And again this year.
Right.
So I think that's why it's kind of happening. But I think that's the only reason it's, I think it's just trying to create a whole kind of experience versus just a show. Because there is small side tournaments. There is a kick to win $100,000, at the SoCo Expo.
Nice.
And all sorts of things. But I think eventually, ideally, just judging by Chicago this year, how they held that upstairs, it would be fantastic if we could snag, like the upstairs, and maybe they made the Breakers Pavilion like a little bit smaller and put the dealers down there who are dealing just, football, basketball, baseball, whatever, Pokemon. Agreed. But I think it would be great if the two could come together, but I don't know, I'm not the one who's leading it, and I'm not the one who's, speaking for the National and the SoCo, but I think it would be nice eventually if the two can combine, right? Because it would just be nice just to get the foot traffic not only for the dealers, but also just maybe get more people interested. They'll wander upstairs at Chicago and be like, oh, wow, look at all this soccer stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, that would be great. I mean, when I went to the upstairs section where all the new vendors were, there was extra space. So I'm not sure what the reasoning is. It wasn't like there was a lack of space, but maybe they didn't plan it out far in advance. I don't know either. But I could see there'd be a time where they just kind of come together. It just seemed weird that both were happening at the same time. But the reason why you think that was the case makes sense to me. If that indeed was the answer, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also because, right, it's so hard to get a table at the National. It's so expensive. And it's so hard to do. You're years out before you can even get a table.
Yeah.
So I think that's also the complexity of it. I totally agree. I walked upstairs and I don't understand why the tables were literally, I turn around and it's just right there, the next table behind me. I didn't have to move.
I don't know if you heard my recent podcast that just came out of my recap. And I said the exact same thing. I'm like, why is it so narrow when there's so much space upstairs? Like, I just didn't understand.
Yeah, I remember walking up there and I'm like, why is this white curtain here? And there's no one using the space behind it.
Yeah, that's just, if I ever get to interview the National organizers, I'm going to bring that up. It's just like, what's the reason?
Appreciate it.
What's the reason behind it? All right. No, I appreciate this talk. I learned a lot already, even within the 30 minutes we've been chatting. I'm wondering if you could, for anyone that's interested in getting to soccer cards, we already talked about Messi, of course. We already talked about Ronaldo, but you'll have to have deep pockets to get nice cards of those players. Is there any that you like to target either as a PC or even potential good investment pieces? Just off the top of your head.
Yeah, so I think there's a plenty of opportunity for some of the younger guys in the Premier League. So you have Florian Wirtz, who just came over from Bayern Leverkusen. He came over to Liverpool, so I think he is a good one to target. He's a little more on the expensive side, but I think he's got the talent there. And there's also a younger forward that just got signed from Brighton for Chelsea. His name's João Pedro. Like, he's a young kid. He's a number 9. He's a true out and out number 9. He has a shot to do good things. There's just the hardest thing about prospecting in soccer is how many leagues there are and how many players there are.
Right.
So there's dozens of leagues, and you have, the top 6 in the world, which are always competing with each other. And you have not only that, but then you have their youth teams coming up too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, for me, I'm actually a sucker for defenders, which get no love at all because I played defense.
Right.
So like, I love a good defender.
Love it. Yeah.
Even if they don't play anymore, like, some of the guys like, John Terry, you got Virgil van Dijk, who's still playing for Liverpool, and those kind of guys. I think it's just, I've noticed a lot of people who they target is either they target a specific player or whoever plays for their team, right? Because
Yes.
most of us have a team and they'll target those guys
Yeah.
moving forward. And just, if you happen to buy someone from another team, even if you don't like the team they came from, you're still going to like the guy. And
Right.
it's a whole thing, right? I think another player he's still so young is Bukayo Saka for Arsenal. He's a winger out there.
Hmm.
He's still so young. He's been injured a little bit the last few years, but he's so good on the ball. His movement's great, and this is coming from a Chelsea guy who does not like Arsenal
Okay.
at all. So I
Right.
have to. So I
That
just
means
have to
something.
give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's just like I said, Verts is a good one. It's just so many players to keep your eye on. It's just I can barely keep track, of the transfer market with
Right.
with all the leagues going on.
Yeah.
But I think if you're more into MLS, I think you should just if you like Sonny, for LA, get some Sonny if you want that. Like
Yeah.
his stuff is relatively cheap and like his auto is actually pretty cool. Like
Yeah.
I've had a few of his autos, like it's pretty good. Like I like it.
Yeah.
Um
It's like an art piece. I don't know what it
Yes.
is. It's like a
Yeah,
scribble.
yeah.
Jackson Pollock
Yeah.
almost. Yeah.
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 No, I mean, I think I think most of us, if we would give a recommendation, I'm not speaking for the entire group, but a few of the vendors, I would say wait a few years for Yamal. If you're interested in him, wait till his prices go down a little bit.
Yeah.
The only risk you take there, right, is if he keeps playing well, it's just going to keep going up. So it's like you said, the double-edged sword.
Yes. But that's generally good advice. Not everyone could be a Shohei Ohtani where it just doesn't come down anymore, right? So
yes, that's true.
Yeah. Well, I forgot to ask because obviously 2026 we got the World Cup. We're co-host nations. I'm on the wait list to see if I can get on the drawing for a soccer, a World Cup ticket match. It's going to be expensive, but if I get the opportunity, I'm definitely going to try to go. Are you guys, like, as vendors and soccer card collectors, are you anticipating there to be some kind of bump with the World Cup coming very soon?
So besides, like we said, besides the GOATs, Messi and Ronaldo, there will be a bump, I think. And I think it'll be honestly more Team Canada players and Team US players. But this is just my speculation because I think we sometimes tend to forget with all the baseball and football and basketball going on. And then the World Cup, everyone will start like 2026 as soon as January 1st. It's like, oh my gosh, the World Cup's coming, Canada, Mexico, and US. Like, what are we going to do? What are we going to invest in? Yeah. So oddly enough, I had quite a few like US autos for some of the members, like, the like True Golds, the dual autos. No one bought any of it. So I think it's still too early for people to take a look at those. Yeah. But I would say probably March, April, I think people will start looking at it, whether it's from collecting or whether it's from investing. Because I mean, let's be honest, if any of the host nations make it out of the group stage, people are going to go bonkers. Yes. People are just going to go bonkers. So it's going to be just mayhem. But I think a lot of people are really down on Kylian Mbappe right now for some reason.
So until you mention his name, like he has been so hot for so long and then kind of disappeared for a little while.
So he had a slow start for Real, but he really just turned it on at the very end. But I think people just can't forget how young he is still. I think he's 25, 26. I could be wrong though. He's only in his mid-20s, but I feel like he's played forever, right? He's won the World Cup of France already, right? At his young age. He was in the final, last go around. I think he's a good investment right now, to be honest, Mbappe. I'm not trying to speak or pump anything for anybody, but you just forget about him. Like, he just blends into the shadows sometimes with all the stuff going on with Yamal and then Messi and Ronaldo. But he's a great player, and he's beginning to sign more stuff again. So I mean, if you can find anything, in his France uniform, even in his Real Madrid stuff, because I've noticed his PSG stuff is still great, right? For his rookie stuff, the 2017 Topps Chrome. But I think anything in his France or Real stuff is going to have an uptick for sure next year.
Nice. Yeah, no, I love guys like Mbappe where, he was hyped up and then they're kind of forgotten because, there's a new shiny thing on the market now. And I love going after those players. So thanks for reminding me of Mbappe. After this pod, I'm gonna go on eBay and see if there's any good deals there. And even with the World Cup coming up, Team Canada, I'm gonna stock up on Alphonso Davies. Okay, so hopefully
there you go.
Canada will get out of the group stage and do well as well. But yeah, no, I appreciate your insight. I appreciate your knowledge. I know you even mentioned when you DM me, a lot of other guys that know even more about soccer. But I'm like, no, you need to come on. And, I appreciate you being a listener to the podcast, so you know how it goes. And no, I had a great time just talking soccer cards. And you know what? I really want you back on, especially as we get closer to the World Cup, if you don't mind.
For sure. I'd love to. Thank you so much. I'd be an honor.
Yeah, that'll be amazing to have you back on and talk soccer cards, because I know I'm with you. I think it's just going to grow, and I love learning about anything new in the card market that I'm not familiar with. This year it's kind of Pokemon. I've been going deep into Pokemon because that's been going off. But
yes, I heard.
Yeah, I could see myself getting really deep into soccer cards very quickly as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of the same thing for me, right? I'm a giant baseball fan. I mean, just hearing you and Hung talk about it is just so cool. I mean, you guys, I straight up bought an Otani auto at the Toronto Expo. So
nice.
You guys convinced me.
Yes.
So one of his OG autos, it was a second year, but I was like, all right, I got to buy this. Like,
yeah,
these
awesome.
guys keep talking about it. I got to just throw my money in. I've been watching him a lot more. Like, he's just
incredible.
So good. Like, I can't even fathom. Like, he's our Babe Ruth. Like, it's just nuts.
Well, I'm glad you picked him up, and I'm sure you don't regret it because of what he's doing now. Even so yeah. You're welcome, Dave, that you picked him up based on what we were saying about Otani. But yeah, Dave, thanks again for coming on to the pod, and appreciate you being a loyal listener.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time on a little bit later on a Thursday night here for us, but I appreciate the time.
No worries. Love talking about cards. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.